Imagine standing on a beach where your grandparents played as children. Only now, the ocean claims the ground beneath your feet with every tide. No dramatic tsunami, just water, rising, steady, relentless. This isn't a scene from a disaster movie. It's daily life in nations like Tuvalu, where sea levels have risen nearly twice the global average in recent decades. In your lifetime, entire countries, low-lying atoll nations built on coral just meters above the waves, face the prospect of becoming uninhabitable, not through war or conquest, but through the quiet, documented advance of rising seas driven by climate change. These are real places with real people, documented histories, and primary accounts of loss already underway. If you think this won't touch your world, keep watching, because the story of their struggle reveals truths about our shared future. Like and subscribe for more fact-based historical and documentary deep dives that connect past patterns to present realities. Your support helps us uncover more stories grounded in verifiable records. The countries most immediately at risk are small island developing states in the Pacific and Indian Oceans, Tuvalu, Kiribati, the Maldives, and others, like the Marshall Islands and parts of the Solomon Islands. Tuvalu consists of 9 coral atolls with a total land area of about 26 square kilometers and a population of around 11,000. Its highest point is roughly 4.6 to 5 meters above sea level, with most land much lower. Kiribati, with about 120,000 people, has an average elevation of just 2 to 3 meters. Some areas rise only centimeters at high tide. The Maldives, an archipelago nation, has an average elevation of about 1.5 meters, with maximum heights around 2.3–2.4 meters. These nations contribute negligibly to global greenhouse gas emissions, often less than 0.03% each, yet face disproportionate impacts, as verified by IPCC assessments and national reports. Sea level has risen globally by about 8 to 9 inches, 23 centimeters, since 1880, with acceleration due to thermal expansion and ice melt. An anchoring detail returns here, a simple patch of coral sand, once firm underfoot for fishing and daily life. Its meaning shifts as we trace the story, from foundation of home to fragile warning. The hidden truth is not inevitable total submersion tomorrow, but the documented erosion of habitability. Saltwater intrusion destroying freshwater lenses and crops, coastal erosion swallowing land, and increased flooding making life unsustainable long before complete inundation. In the Solomon Islands, at least 5 reef islands have already disappeared due to sea level rise and stronger winds over recent decades. NASA analysis indicates Pacific islands like Tuvalu, Kiribati, and Fiji could see an additional 15 centimeters, about 6 inches, of sea level rise in the next 3 decades, increasing high tide flooding. IPCC and related projections show global mean sea level could rise 0.28 to 1.22 meters by 2100 depending on emissions pathways, with low-lying atolls losing significant land area, Kiribati potentially 9.7 to 19.8% under some scenarios. This is not speculation. It draws from peer-reviewed science, satellite data, tide gauges, and on-the-ground observations. The emotional weight lands, in families watching ancestral lands erode, documented in reports from affected governments and UN bodies. Before the accelerated changes, these nations thrived as vibrant, self-reliant societies. Tuvalu and Kiribati's people sustained themselves through fishing, copra, and traditional knowledge passed through generations. The Maldives built a renowned tourism economy on its coral beauty. For centuries, coral atolls adapted slowly to natural fluctuations. Post-industrial emissions shifted the balance. Global sea level rise was modest through much of the 20th century but accelerated, with rates now exceeding historical norms. Communities lived with seasonal king tides, but the frequency and severity of inundation increased measurably. Archival records and local accounts describe a world where the ocean provided, not threatened existence. That coral sand patch was simply home, solid, generational, taken for granted. The breaking point arrived through compounding, verified events, higher baseline sea levels, plus intensified storms and erosion. In Tuvalu, sea level rise reached about 21 centimeters in 30 years, nearly double the global average. Kiribati has seen visible land loss, with leaders purchasing land in Fiji for potential relocation as a documented adaptation measure. The Maldives faces saltwater intrusion affecting drinking water and agriculture. These are not projections alone, but ongoing processes backed by measurements. Mid-video CTA. If these human stories of resilience amid verifiable environmental change resonate, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We bring meticulously researched narratives like this to illuminate what the records show. Doubt persists in some circles about timelines and exact outcomes, fueled by debates over exact rise rates, adaptation feasibility, and varying emissions scenarios. While science confirms the trend, questions remain on precise decades for uninhabitability thresholds. Some larger nations' coastal issues overshadow these small states' existential risks in global media. Yet primary sources, government pleas at UN forums, declassified or public scientific assessments, highlight the disparity. Nations emitting the least suffer earliest and most acutely. Controversy centers on responsibility, legal precedents for climate refugees, and whether relocation preserves sovereignty and culture. The coral sand, once home, now symbolizes contested futures. Some see managed retreat, others denial of the scale. Against overwhelming odds, leaders and communities execute plans rooted in documented necessity. Tuvalu's foreign minister Simon Kofe stood knee-deep in ocean water during a 2021 COP speech, a verified moment captured on record. We're sinking. But so is everyone else. Tuvalu has pursued digital preservation of its nation in the metaverse, scanning homes, trees, culture, to maintain identity even if physical land diminishes, as reported by BBC and others. Kiribati bought land on Fiji's Vanuatu for relocation, planning phased moves starting with skilled workers while sustaining agriculture. One moment of unexpected humanity. In the midst of these high-stakes diplomatic and engineering efforts, families continue daily rituals, teaching children traditional navigation and fishing on shrinking shores, clinging to normalcy and hope documented in journalistic and UN accounts. A mother in Kiribati or Tuvalu might share stories of the sea not as enemy, but as changed kin, revealing profound resilience amid grief. Australia's agreement with Tuvalu allows up to 280% annual migrants with residency pathways, a practical response to projections. These actions, land purchases, digital archiving, migration pacts, are verified responses to measurable threats, not fiction. The prophetic line comes from a Tuvaluan leader's documented warning echoing through international forums. The world must act, or more will follow. The coral sand patch, once playground, now bears witness to both loss and determined adaptation. The aftermath includes ongoing relocation planning, international legal advocacy, and adaptation investments like seawalls or elevation projects, though funding gaps persist. Legacy. These nations highlight global interconnectedness. Their cultural preservation efforts and calls for emissions reductions leave records that may guide future responses. Millions in other low-lying areas, including coastal megacities, face scaled-up risks per IPCC and national data. The coral sand evolves again into a symbol of human ingenuity and the cost of inaction. As sea levels continue their documented rise, the question that remains is, when entire ways of life, verified histories, languages, and communities are at risk through no fault of their own, what moral and practical duties do we share? What steps will your generation take, informed by the facts? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which verified fact surprised you most? Or, what dilemma does this raise for global responsibility? Like, share, and subscribe for more rigorously sourced stories. Together we honor truth by facing it.